All right, so I want to add drivers. So let me fire it up. Okay, fingers crossed. Looks like it's going to run. Let's go to localhost. Oops, not there. Close 8080. So here's our application so far. Let's delete some of this stuff. There we go. Cool. So I want to add a driver that's going to have many cars, right? What should I do first?
Need a new model?
Yeah, let's make a model. So I'm going to make a model called driver.java. And how do I tell, oh my gosh, how do I tell the ORM that I want it to keep track of this item?
You would do entity.
Yep. So we add the entity note annotation. Entity. We want to specify what we want to call our table. Name equals drivers, right? DRI. Drivers. It doesn't know what table is. Let me make sure I import this. Yeah, cool.
Jakarta. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also have to give it an ID, right? So just like when I did the ERD, we need to say this is this is the ID. Generated value. Strategy is
Generation type.
Thank you. Try not to look at notes. Generation type dot identity. Cool. And we just say private long ID. Okay. It doesn't know what that is. Let me import it. Cool. All right. So if I do this, and I've been playing with this, so let me just come in here and I'm going to drop the database and start over just so we can see what happens. So I'm going to come in here. And if you're ever having issues, if it's ever like kind of acting, wow, I got a lot of stuff open. Okay. It's just dummy data, right? You're not storing like valuable client information. So if it's ever not working, don't be afraid to just come in here and drop your database or drop your schema. So I'm going to click on cars, right click it, and I'm just going to go down to drop schema. Okay, and just drop now. Now the only problem is if I do that, I got to remember to regenerate it, right? So I got to come back up to my database, make my cars, then apply. Okay, and it should, there it is, cool. So I got a brand new schema, nothing in it. So if I go back to my local host, refresh, excuse me, refresh, what did I do? Exception, model make from cars. That's weird. All right, let's see if that would make the database. No, what am I doing wrong? Invalid data resource exception executing. I screwed something up. Let's see. Entity, table name drivers. I wonder if it's because I didn't make my getters and setters. Well, okay, so let's finish this and see if that helps it. So let's do, what did I say a driver had? Private string name, private string email. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up the relationship because I think that might be why. Well, I'm just curious. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's bizarre. Anyway, go back, check my cars. Sweet. That's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to happen. So I have a cars table, and I have a drivers table with. Maybe that's why I didn't have any columns. Okay. So I've got a drivers table and a cars table. So I want to establish the relationship between a driver and a car. So what is that relationship? So on the driver side, does a driver have, is it many drivers to one car or one driver to many cars? I don't know if I said that right.
The other way, right? Many cars to one driver.
Yeah. So this is the side where this is the one to many side. Okay. So we're going to say at one to many. And we're going to say mapped by driver. Okay, so this is basically just telling, telling the ORM that basically we're going to create a relationship here. Don't make another table called driver, or don't make another table for this relationship. Okay, so we're saying mapped by driver. The fetch type is what's called lazy. And there's two types of fetch. There's lazy and there's eager. I'm trying to remember the difference. Essentially, I think you can have a holy war over this. Essentially, lazy loading is it doesn't fetch the data until it's needed, whereas eager loading will fetch the data before it's needed. So this is supposed to be more efficient. So we go with lazy loading, or I'm sorry, lazy fetching, and then that's it. And then we need to establish the data type that represents the relationship. So a driver has many cars. So we're going to make the data type a private, and it's going to be a list of car. And we're going to call it cars. Okay, let's do these imports. List. Cool. All right, questions so far? Okay, so now what else do we need in our model?
The constructor.
Yeah. So go to code generators. We need a empty constructor. We need a constructor with all fields. And then we need our getters and setters. Cool. So be sure you set up the relationship first before you generate getters and setters. I mean, you could always regenerate it, but just make sure because that is part of the relationship. So the list of cars is actually one of the attributes. Okay. Now, curious what's going to happen if I reload this. Crashed. Okay. Okay, so let's set up the other side of the relationship. So a driver has many cars. And a car, how many drivers does a car have? One, right? You guys with me? Okay, so on this side, it's many to one. So there are many cars, many to one. We're going to specify the fetch type. Fetch type dot lazy. And here's where we need to establish the join column. So how do we reference, or how do we signify that a column is the foreign key?
The other one, singular
driver underscore ID, right? Okay, so the cars belong to a driver, so that's what keeps track of the foreign key, right? So if a car belongs to a driver, it's going to have that driver's primary key as its foreign key. Okay, and what is the data type for this? What is the field?
Private.
Private, yeah.
Driver.
Driver, yep.
Driver.
Cool. So, am I good to go? Am I done?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Did you make the getter and set?
Yeah. So notice I added a attribute to my car. So this is no longer valid. I mean, we could keep it, but I want to regenerate my all arg constructor because now I have another piece of data that I'm keeping track of. So I want to regenerate my constructor using all fields. And I also, you should just be able to go getters and setters, and it should only generate the getter and setter that's missing. So it leaves everything else intact. We could do that. We could override this let's redo the toString method. Cool. Now we're good. So now we've updated our model. So the cars is ready to take in drivers, and the driver is ready to have a list of cars associated with it. All right. Questions? Okay, I'm going to go to my database. Actually, before I do that, I need to refresh. Cool. My views are back. Go to my SQL and just verify that my database has been updated. So now my car has a model, car model, make, year, and then the driver ID. Okay. And then my drivers have just the name and the email. Okay. All right. I'm going to